Welcome, everyone. This is Roger Salam, your host for another Winner Circle edition of interview. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and she's not only an author, entrepreneur, but she's also a very dear friend of mine that we reconnected after almost 2, 3 years in gap in between. And man, oh man, I'm so impressed. The last time I saw her, she was a speaker on my cruise about 3 years ago. And now, Bonnie Bruder, my friend, entrepreneur, speaker, author, and she has her own TV show in New York, the Ask Bon Bon Show. She has interviewed over 170 celebrity guests almost in her show over the last 3 years, and she has created a multi-platform media solution that can really dramatically change the results and literally get your brand and message in front of millions of eyeballs and ears. And today I'm going to interview her, but before I interview her, I wanted her to tell you a little bit about her background and how she came about so that you'll appreciate more about who she is as a person, not just as a media personality. So please give a Winner Circle warm welcome to Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Roger. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here today.
Thank you. My pleasure as well. And so before I have the last time you came on the cruise 3 years ago, we have a lot of new members. So for the benefit of my new members, would you please, I give you a very small introduction. Tell us a little bit about your background. I didn't tell the others that where you and I both go almost 2 decades in the personal development industry, that we have that from back from our Tony Robbins days. So take us a little bit of your background, and then how does this show come about?
Sure. Yeah. Goodness gracious, we do go back many
Yes.
decades. So just a little bit of history. I started my journey in the personal development world about, gosh, 20 years ago now. I was 23 years old. I went to a Tony Robbins seminar. I'd never heard of personal development or dream it and do it, and I was literally hooked. It was like spiritual personal development crack. I had to have more. I had to learn everything I possibly could. And so fast forward, I ended up going to work for Tony Robbins right about the time Roger was there and the #1 speaker and salesperson. And so during my 10 years with the Robbins organization, I pretty much did everything. I started doing inside sales for filling events. I went on his Must team, which is a team that travels with him and was hand trained by him. I did that for 6 years, and I coached over 7,000 people in many different countries around the world and lived globally. And also did sales and marketing and really learned the ins and outs of that business, as well as became a speaker and helped run a couple of his programs. And then from there, I made a jump. It was hard to leave after a decade, but I got an offer to become the director of production for a company called the Academy of Wealth and Achievement that certified people in neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, presentation and platform skills. And I ran all of their events in North America for 2.5 years, did a couple of events overseas as well, and really, stayed in the same industry but learned a new skill set. In addition to all of the professional experience, literally for those decades, my office was a seminar room. So people hear about, oh, I'm an NLP practitioner. Well, I went through the training probably 15 times because I literally sat in the back of the room and ran those trainings. So I feel super fortunate to have had those experiences. And then in 2008, went out on my own and started my own brand of coaching and consulting. I authored 3 books. I hosted a radio show for 2.5 years out of Seattle called Live Your Life on Fire. And I still worked for A-list, kind of, I could call them like personal development celebrity clients. I worked with Harvey McKay for 3.5 years. I ran his elite mastermind group where he mentored 35 CEOs. I also worked for Alex Mendozian for 5 years, running his events and learning the ins and outs of internet marketing, while I was building my own brand and developing an online university called Create You. And my dream was always to do television, right? If you look back at my vision boards over the decades, it always has Oprah on it. And I really wanted to find a way to do TV. So 3 years ago, coming up this month, I made a very bold decision. I woke up on my 40th birthday in a massive panic, and I thought, if I don't move to New York now, it will never happen. And I've seen every episode of Sex and the City, and I want to do TV, and if I don't get there, the window's going to close, and I'll be driving and regret it. So I moved to New York not knowing one person, literally. I always say I had no man, no plan, but just a vision. And so little Ginger, my 8-pound dog, and I packed it up. Very rude, rough awakening. I'll tell that story on the cruise. But within the first 4 days, I was robbed of over $50,000. I had witnessed a murder, unfortunately, and was on 2 trains with suicide jumpers. So my welcome to New York was a little bit not like they show with Carrie and the Cosmos. However, I am a fighter, literally, and I just pushed through. And I had my head down. I was sad. I was defeated, but I really had nothing to do but work. And so I ended up going to every single mastermind group I could find, every single business networking, every single entertainment industry event, and fortunately met an incredible agent as well as an incredible producer who we'll talk about in just a minute, who works at CBS, and was able to get booked on a number of different talk shows here in New York and kind of learn the media business, and then had an opportunity to pitch my own series, which essentially interviews different thought leaders. And it was picked up for a weekly spot, and we ended up getting the primetime spot on MNN's Lifestyle Network Monday nights at 8 o'clock. And so I designed a television show. And I'll tell you all the ins and outs. As Roger said, we've interviewed over 170 top thought leaders. And so essentially, the way that the show came about is that, I had this vision, I pushed through, I got an opportunity, I built an amazing team, and the idea was to create 12 episodes. So once a month, 12 episodes. I was going to interview the 12 most interesting people. Of course, Roger would have been one of them, and has been since, that I had met in my 20 years in personal development. And what is, I was able to attract this team because my vision was so compelling. I was just dead set on bringing these thought leaders to the world. And so I ended up at an event attracting this long time, I'm talking since the 80s, producer from CBS. He worked on The Oprah Show. He worked on Hard Copy. He does the CBS Morning Show, the Sunday Morning Show, like really top events, produces the Emmys, things we've all heard of and watched. And he was so fascinated with my passion and my dedication and watching me work literally 7 days a week through the blizzards, through everything New York has to offer to create this show. And so he said, listen, you're adorable. I'm going to produce a few shows for you. He's like, normally I would charge this, but I really think that you could be the next Oprah. Not me personally, but just this opportunity and the platform we were creating. He goes, and I really want to make that happen. So he started working with us. He built a team and trained them. And then all of a sudden, we were into 20 shows and approaching 30. And I said, wait a minute, guys, we've passed 10. So I went back to the network and I said, whoops, I'm a bit of an overachiever. Is there any possibility we could submit for a weekly show? And they had told me one time, I thought this was the best compliment. They said, we've never seen anyone work so hard on a show. We've never seen anyone. They said, it should be the #1 show. If you were getting paid, you would have the #1 show, which at the time I was funding the whole campaign. I was paying for the team, I was paying for the production, paying for the editors, and I had to do this. So I would work all day as a coach, doing my executive coaching and personal coaching business, and then at nights and weekends I would pay my team and we would design these interviews. And we had some really amazing people. I was getting top tech CEOs here in New York, like Pete from Relio, which is a really amazing company that works directly with YouTube. We had Josh, who is the CEO and co-founder of a company that develops apps. I mean, we were getting like the hottest people on the show. We had photojournalists like Giles Dooley, who was a war photographer that had stepped on a landmine while touring with the U.S. Army and became a triple amputee, and since has gone on and recovered and created this amazing movement in Syria, bringing awareness to war victims. We had the cancer sniffing dogs. I mean, it was out of control what was happening with the show. And so what I did is I realized, number one, we've got some legs here. We've got something that's working. Number two, I can only coach so much, so we need a way to monetize this show. And number three, we've got some pretty kick butt talent here. We've got the CBS producer. I was getting consulting from people like Alex Mendozian, who's an incredible internet marketer, Jeff Hazlett from C-Suite and the former CMO of Kodak, Frank Fernandez, who's a 30-year NBC executive, and a couple of other people, and they were just asking me, like, how did you do this? I'm like, I don't even know. I just did it. I haven't slept. I've aged like 10 years, but I did it. And so what we did is we realized there was such a bigger opportunity with what's happening with media and it going mobile, but television also staying really hot. And so we were able to put together a matrix where we take that show. So now having the show in New York on a primetime spot, that's pretty awesome. However, what we've done with it since is we then repurposed that particular interview to about 20 different places. Other television networks in Los Angeles, we put it on 3 major radio networks, and we do a whole press campaign and social media campaign behind it so that we literally can get these interviews in front of millions and millions of people. And why that was so important to me is I had been, as I said, in this industry for 20 years. I have been on NBC. I've been on Fox. I had a segment on the Hallmark Channel. I think I sold 1 book from all of those opportunities. And so for me, it was critically important not only to tell the message, but to create a platform for my colleagues and my thought leaders that I have worked with that I know really have powerful, powerful messages and missions in the world. And I wanted to be able to provide them a way that they could reach the masses. So that's what happened.
I had no idea your welcome to New York was such dramatic.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'll tell you more over a pina colada on the cruise.
Yes, on the cruise. There's a movie there somewhere.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. One thing that, now that some people might think that, hey, the whole world, that television is dying and everything is going digital. So why don't you just tell us, is television still work?
So here's the thing. I actually was on that boat for a minute. When I started this, again, I was like, this is super fun. I'm going to have a TV show. But does anyone watch TV anymore? And I knew we were going to repurpose online, so I thought it was fine. And then when I actually started working with some of these network executives, they said, no, actually the movement, the trends are showing that people are going more towards local media, so they're going to the cable networks, they're going to more of their local news and their local shows combined with the mobile. So they're getting their CNN, their NBC, their CBS on their mobile devices, but they're actually watching television on the bigger screen in the home, but more from a local perspective. So this slide here, it's just a little blurb that I pulled from Adweek this year. And I'll just read a quick paragraph. It says, with the competition from Netflix and a host of other new digital video providers, the television industry has undergone seismic changes over the last 5 years. But one thing has remained constant. TV is still by far the most effective advertising medium. And it goes to show a finding by Turner Broadcasting and Horizon Media and market share, but really it's showing that television actually still works. And the way that we've combined it with all of the other pieces, it's kind of like a home run, because you do one media thing, maybe someone catches it, maybe they don't, but that's why we wanted to keep hitting that, right? You get an interview, but then you put it all the different possible places that people can find it so that you hit your market.
Awesome. And so definitely then from that perspective, people are really going the television. So most of my members, if not all, are some form of speakers, promoters, authors, and they all have a book. So if I have a book, or we're service providers or event-based company, what is the best form of advertising for people like us?
My opinion, backed by research, is by far and away getting the ability for people to get to know you. We've all heard Sales 101, people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
and I do go to, every internet marketing seminar and learn how to write the best copy that hooks people and, do all the webinars, do all these things because they're important. And what people really want to know is Roger a nice guy? I could sit there and I can tell them the million reasons why it's super important to know this person, but at the end of the day, they just want to know, can I trust him? Is he really all about relationships? And so the format that I've created really allows people to get to know you. Instead of a 30-second clip on NBC, we do 10-minute interviews. We get to sit on the couch or chair or wherever we are in a very casual setting, and we get to talk to you and get to know you. And so any media you're doing, to answer your question directly, is critical that you're getting that message across. Then from there, it's important message to market match, right? It's important that you get that message now in front of the right market. And again, what we've found the most effective strategy is a multi-tiered approach, is broadcasting that on multiple platforms. In the old way people would do it, they would do a TV ad, but then they do a billboard, and then they do a whole radio campaign, and it was all these things in different places. We take one streamlined message and we put it multi-platform, and this slide here shows you, and I can actually walk you through a little bit of how we do that and who we're reaching.
All right.
And just to give you just a quick example, we've had some really great success stories in our 170 interviews that we've done. One in particular I love, this lovely, lovely woman, Summer. She was a marketing director at a tech company here in New York, and she had a side business doing organization. So she's a professional organizer. She was working nights and weekends, but that was her passion. And she came on our show, and from one of our social media campaigns that we do, the next day, she ended up in USA Today, and on our YouTube channel, she'd had something like 12,000 views, in the first couple of weeks, and she ended up quitting her job. She got so much business from that and some of the other exposure. I went for a walk with her the other day, and she said, I quit my job. I just do organization full-time right now. So, so we know the approach is working, and again, to answer you directly, I think that's the most important thing you can do is get that message, cross-platform, so people get to.
And so you run this television, all these shows. And what if somebody were to ask you, what makes you qualified to run a television network?
So that's a really great question. A couple of things. So number one, my many, many years in the business of doing production, honestly, I have worked on a lot of TV shows. I've worked in a lot of films at this point. And the experience that I got cutting my teeth at live events for people like Tony Robbins, where sometimes it's 7 days in a row, 17 hours a day, is beyond anything else. It's like a PhD in production. So many years of that, I feel really qualified me. Number two, I actually had to go become a certified television producer. So in order to even submit a series, you have to go through television production school. And that involves everything from, learning the soundboard, miking, learning how to do cutaways, every single piece of a television show production that you could possibly imagine. The studios we film in are literally the same as an NBC or CBS would with the soundboards, and there's a production team of 4 or 5 people, and 3 cameras and multi-screen, and it's pretty amazing. So I had to literally learn every single bit and piece of that. And then from the perspective of how we then distribute, which is really what our network, that's the value of our network, is the distribution, a couple of things. Number one, because I have been groomed by people like Tony Robbins and Harvey McKay and have had access to these minds like Alex Mandossian and Jeff Hazlett, I did not mess around with this. Like, I literally went and said, you need to teach me how to create the best. Like, what would absolutely be better than anything else that's out there? And with all of their input, I was able to get, okay, the top internet marketer, he says you need to do this. The top NBC executive says you need this. The producer from CBS says you need this. And then combine it, and what you see here, the slide you're looking at, this is our media matrix. So every show we produce, we then broadcast on 2 different television networks, MNN's Lifestyle Channel, which reaches 620,000 homes here in New York, and LA 36, which reaches 1.4 million homes in Los Angeles. Then we do radio. So we do iTunes, both radio, and we just started this week also playing the videos on iTunes. So that's a new addition even since this slide. Women's Power Radio, which is a very strong radio network for personal development, and Artist Hub, which has over 9 million subscribers. And then we run it through our online campaigns. I'm a featured editor on Your Tango, which has 12.5 million unique visitors, and that's really a relationship and personal development site. LinkedIn, we write 3 articles a week, which we have over 3,000, and that's growing by the day. And then we have partnerships with multiple blogs in the niche. So my own blog, I'm a writer for iShare Agency, Coach Market. And then on YouTube, we just started building that channel. We wanted to design all the content first, but in the last 3 months since we put that channel up, we've had over 250,000 views, which is pretty awesome for our guests. And then the social. We put a very strategic social media campaign. We do a live Periscope broadcast at the time of filming, which goes out to Periscope and then also Twitter. We reach about 225,000, and we do that twice. We do it at the time of filming and at broadcast. Instagram, we're reaching about 25,000, and Facebook 10,000, and then of course YouTube. And then we do a dedicated press campaign. So for every single show that we do a submission with PressJet, and we reach 250 media outlets, and we actually provide you, it's not all just fluff, we actually literally provide you with the pickup sheet. So you'll get a spreadsheet that says this is the 250 submissions, these are the press outlets that picked up your story, and that's the pickup syndication report there. And then we also have multiple programs that we have the ability to sponsor. So we work with multiple fashion brands, we have jewelry brands, we have shoe brands that we build into every single show, and those are all available for sponsorships. We also have daily and weekly content. So I have 4 guest hosts, one that is an organizational expert, one that's a parenting and bully specialist, one that's a red carpet entertainment specialist, and then we have a beauty, a girl that works on movie sets and does makeup for celebrities. And they do daily content where they're producing a 5-minute segment, and those are all available for sponsorships for, you know, some of our brands that we work with. So again, we really created this matrix so that every single piece of media that we've seen out there that's effective is hit, and we're using one message. So it's a united front. It's not, oh, over here on Twitter, and then on LinkedIn I'm saying this. You're saying the same thing in so many different places to millions of people. So that, a long answer to your question, but that's really what I feel makes me qualified. It's not necessarily me, it's the team that I've been able to build around me and their expertise and their wisdom.
So talk about the team. We know you shared how the show came about. Tell us a little bit, who's on your team?
Yeah, so it's obviously now a big team.
Yeah.
So our main producer is, and our consultant is Peter Rotundo, and he's the gentleman that I mentioned that's been in this industry since the 80s. He's worked on many, many shows, and he really leads the charge as far as the production. We have Chris Hamill, who works for brands like Estee Lauder, BET, which is owned by CBS, and he specializes in film cinema for features, but he also does a lot of television for different segments, and he produces in one of our studios. And then we have another producer from CBS, Judy Stokes, and we have Monica Grant, who did our first, I think, 90 shows. And so from a production standpoint, that is a really amazing team. And then we have Josh Graves, who just came on board, who's an incredible editor here in New York. He's worked on multiple shows. And so from production, that is kind of like phase 1, and they handle that piece. We also have an associate producer, Carla, who was the associate line producer for America's Got Talent, all 4 of the judges. So she knows how to run around, and she knows the entertainment industry. So she handles the live Periscope broadcast. She handles all of the clientele when they come into the studio to film. And then from there, kind of phase 2 is more our marketing team. So I have an executive assistant that works for me more kind of on the personal side, managing all of the different players. And then I have, his name is Trevor, and he's amazing, also coming from the TV industry. And then I have Vishal, who's been my kind of more virtual assistant for the last 5 years, and he does all of the web work and a lot of the syndication and posting and so forth. And then we've outsourced to 3 different agencies. So again, we wanted the best of what people have to offer. So our online university, which all of these broadcasts also go into, is managed by Autopilot. Heather and Andrew manage that piece of it. And then we have an agency out of Canada called NSuite Media that does a lot of our social media, and that's really their specialty and expertise. And then I actually write the blogs myself, as well as the press releases. I think that it needs that touch since I was there and I know the person. So I do all of the blogging on iShare, Coach Market, and my own blog, as well as the press releases.
Awesome. And give us an idea about what types of guests have you featured on the show? You've done so many of them.
Oh my gosh. We have had so much fun. So lately, let's see, who have we had? So I mentioned a couple of the top tech CEOs, and in New York here, tech is all the rage. So that was really incredible. We have had famous taxi drivers. We had Manny, who is Tom Hanks' taxi driver and drives the celebrities. He's an absolute character. As I said, we had the cancer sniffing dog, which was phenomenal. We've had a lot of fashion designers. Fashion is really hot here in New York. So we've had Julie Brown Designs, Lola Hayes, Urosana Lingerie. We've had Soulscription. We worked with Studio 15. Really top cutting edge fashion brands here in New York. We have had, typical, we've had Alex Mendozian, we've had Peter Drew, who has Hangout Millionaire, we've had Roger Salam, the CEO of Winner Circle, one of our favorites. And we've also had heads of large organizations. So we've had the head of the natural medicine or natural healing organization, which has literally like thousands and thousands of members. We have had, typical thought leaders, authors, speakers that have a book and have coaching projects and things they want to focus on. We have done remote shoots in cities like Philadelphia, where we picked 10 of the top Philadelphia entrepreneurs and had them on a segment interviewing, all 10 of them in one day. And we have had, let's see, lately a lot of celebrities. One thing that's a little funny, cute side note that's happened because of the show, which I never thought this would happen, but it's just a testament to our model and what I created. I actually have I was going to say second career, but I'm sure it's more of like a fourth career because I work a lot. But I've become an actress because of the show. So I have been contacted by 2 feature film producers because they've seen the TV show and been cast in 2 major feature films that are coming out this year. I've been on 3 sitcoms in addition to doing my own show, and again, it's all because people see the show. So through that, we've had a lot of actors. We've had producers and writers from HBO. We're having John from Chips, if you guys remember back to the 80s, that TV show. And if you watch Blue Bloods, we're having Sid from Blue Bloods on the show in the next couple of weeks. So we have a lot of that kind of talent too, but our main focus is thought leaders. Our main focus is people that are in, the speaking, the seminar, the book world, the coaching world, that really want to get their message out there. And then we package it with that kind of fun brands and entertainment and things that people are really consuming online these days, so that maybe somebody doesn't know that they need this amazing coach or business consultant, but yeah, get them hooked in because they're watching the actor from Blue Bloods, and then all of a sudden it's a win for all. So it's very strategic how we do our segments and the guests that we have on the show.
I mean, you are a testament to one thing, is that the reason you got all these parts and into the starting almost a movie career on the side and feature films, sitcoms, it's because of the distribution, because people have seen it. So as my members, they come on the show. Tell us about the distribution process and how it works. So that how do you get, and you've alluded to it, but this is because that's the crux of it, because we can produce, anybody can with this produce something, but it's the distribution and it's the eyeballs and it's the people that the network or the people that actually sees it that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to your point, I mean, a lot, and I'll cover that directly in just a sec, but a lot of the things we do are social media based. And like just one example, I threw a big networking party for all of the guests that have been on the show, which I do from time to time because I want them to meet each other, right? If there's a Roger Salam there and he is connected to 100 amazing thought leaders, I also want somebody that is interested in connecting with that market there, and I want you guys all to be together. So when we did this television party, somebody had Facebooked out a photo from the Step and Repeat banner, which I'll show in just a minute, but we do that at every filming too. And the next day I got an email from an executive producer from a film, and he said, "You don't know me," from Adam. "I saw a photo of you on, you know, John Schmann's Facebook, and I would like to talk to you about this feature film. We had an A-list actress. She just got pulled to another project, and you're perfect." And I don't want to say who it is, but we all know who she is. And anyway, long story short, I ended up getting cast sight unseen for that movie, and that movie was picked up for global distribution. It's coming out in the theaters in September, and I played alongside the #1 UFC female fighter in the world, as well as a few others. So things like that, I share that story not to be like, "Ooh, that's cool." I share that with you to show you the power of the distribution and how one thing, like I'm going to walk you through how we do it, and you might think, "Wow, being on TV is the amazing thing," or being on radio or this. But honestly, a lot of times those obscure things that we also have put into place are the things that are getting people business and are the things that are landing people speaking gigs and selling books and those things. So that's why I share that story. But the way that we do it, we do two ways. You either come to New York and you come to our studios. We film at MNN Studios at 59th and 11th in New York, and we have an amazing, amazing setup there. It's, like I said, on par with any of the networks. In fact, they even rent out those studios to legitimate big network shows and things like that. So we film and we produce a segment, and that becomes a 10-minute piece that is then featured on a TV show. We air that in New York and then also in Los Angeles, and we give you a copy so that you can use that with all of your marketing materials, however you like, on your website, anything that you want to do with it, which is awesome. And then from there, we convert it into radio, and we submit to the radio stations that I mentioned, and that is more of an evergreen, ongoing thing. The TV is the one time you're on, here's your segment time, and that's great. And then the radio is actually on demand, so it's there evergreen. And then for the next 90 days, we run it through the distribution campaign. So we start featuring you in the different blogs. We tell you a specific day that you're going to be featured on all of the social medias, from LinkedIn to the Twitters to everything that we're all used to. And the reason that we do that is the power of the compounding. So we can do all of this for you, and we do for many people. Some people are so busy they pop in, they pop out, and that was their experience, and we do it all. If you also engage and you're commenting and you're also tweeting it out, it just grows exponentially. And so we purposefully do that for a lot of the campaigns. And then we run it through the press services that I mentioned. So we do a dedicated press release. We put that through PressJet. We give you the syndication and pickup report. And we continue doing that process for 90 days. So again, it's not something that's a one and done. It's done for you, but you literally come here. Your requirement is half an hour, and you sit in the studio. Our producers produce the segment. We give you a copy within the next 30 days, and then we're off and running with all the different pieces that I mentioned. And then we also do remote filmings, and what that looks like is we will partner with an organization that's amazing. We just did this with Blogger Bash here in New York, and we'll go to their event and we'll film, in 1 or up to 3 or 4 days, their top experts, and then we produce that segment. And what's great about that is that also brands that company, right? So not only are we interviewing, Paul, who is an amazing author and coach, but then we're also branding for that organization. So we create those campaigns too, and we do those remote broadcasts where we'll come in, we'll get all the greatest people, and then we again run it through all of the distribution networks that I mentioned.
Awesome. So that is really the crux of the show. So any of my members or anyone listening today, they want to find out more about media, how they get on mass media. and how they get on your show, they can call you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this next slide shows a little bit of all of that in progress. I put my phone number here. So if I'm a little old school, I like you to just pick up the phone and we'll schedule a time to chat. So if you would like a media consultation and I can, walk you through this whole process, or just answer any questions you have. I have learned a ton about this industry. So if there's something that you just want to know, if you want opinions, connections, reach out, give me a call. I've also put my email there, so you can email me. And that's for Rogers Group. I honestly, I would love to talk to everybody in the world, but my time is limited. So everyone that is a part of this call, you have carte blanche access to me where you can pick up the phone or send an email and I'll talk to you, about media and the best ways to promote with that. And then here you can see a few examples of our shoots. This on the bottom left, that is Pete, the CEO for Relio. He actually just won a top CEO award here in New York. And then this is another shoot that we did with Susan Schatzer in the pink shirt. And you can see the Step and Repeat banner. On the top right, that's Jeff Hazlett from C-Suite. And so you can see the branding is built in on everything that we do. We have all of our sponsors that are here. We have Little Bits, you can see Jotter, and Sweet Media. And then I won a little award for the show on the bottom right down here. This was at the party. And so again, you can see it's the television, it's the radio, it's all of those things, but also these pieces that we do that are built into the fabric of our distribution campaigns are the things that are going to gain exposure.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you're the hardest working person in the show business because I happen to be there, and not only you finish the show and then all these industry parties that you have to go to from in the evenings and stuff. So your days and nights are totally booked, and really appreciate your taking the time, especially for my members. So if you're listening and you want to take advantage of this like I did, please call Bonnie and she'll tell you all about how to get on her show and how you can take advantage of the hard distribution to get your message out to the masses, literally to millions. But as you saw, that her show is syndicated not only in cable in New York, but also in Los Angeles, and of course through social media globally. Never know who's going to pick it up from what angle, and who knows, maybe you'll be called on for the next feature film when somebody just bails.
It happens, and I have to tell on myself. Roger is such a gracious host to have me. We have been talking a lot over the last few days, and I put him through a wild goose chase yesterday because I was cast in another film, and so we're having a conference call, and I was in taxis, on trains, braving the New York streets. I was dealing with things that weren't working, but I did a film last night. It's the real story of Rocky, and so I played opposite Sylvester Stallone's character and Sid from Blue Bloods, which is one of my favorite shows. So I literally have not slept. I got home at 4:11. Well, I got cut at 4:11 this morning, and it was a 2-hour drive. So Roger is not lying. You never know what will happen. You could get picked up on gosh knows what. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here. The number one question that I've been asked, we've had 170 thought leaders that we've sat down with this year. The number one question, I'm not kidding, has been, how do you know all of these amazing guests? And I have to really credit Roger because the answer is simple. It's from masterminding. It's from being a part of the winner circle. It's from being a part of the personal development industry. And I really feel like it's such an honor. I know everybody listening to this call is very busy, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen, but it's been an amazing journey. And I thank you so much, Roger, for what you do, because we'd have a lot of dead air time if it wasn't for people like you that create these networks with so many interesting people in one place.
All right, Bonnie, thank you so much again for your time, and we'll see each other very soon on the cruise.
Sounds good. I can't wait. I'm packed.
All the best. Take care.